Just got a message from a friend on Twitter that knows where I live and sent me this link. So I thought I might as well go ahead and read this. GOP Senator Arizona foster kids. I'm sorry, this is from the AZ Mirror. GOP Senator Arizona foster kids are being sold into sexual slavery. This is on October 4th, 2019. A conservative Republican senator who is convinced that the Arizona Department of Child Safety is facilitating the global sex trafficking of children removed from negligent parents called the police on one of his GOP colleagues, alleging that she threatened his life. Senator David Farnsworth, a Republican from Mesa, filed a report with the Arizona Department of Public Safety this week accusing Senator Kate Brophy McGee, Republican Phoenix, of threatening him if he didn't stop investigating the outrageous claim. Okay, what does that remind you of? Didn't Biden just get caught for threatening somebody to stop investigating an outrageous claim, and it turned out uh, that he was connected to the Ukraine? All right. So when somebody starts calling something an outrageous claim and they want somebody to stop investigating something, there's usually a reason for that. All right. The news was first reported by Yellow Sheet Report, a high priced insider newsletter aimed at lobbyists and government officials. Farnsworth told Yellow Sheet that he has been looking into how DCS lost more than 550 children last year, roughly half of whom are categorized as either runaways or otherwise missing. The rest appear to be flagged for paperwork errors. How do you lose 550 children? If a national car dealership lost 550 cars, somebody would be investigating the shit out of that. Somebody would be getting fired. There would be a huge issue. There'd be news about it. National dealership is missing more than 550 cars. Yet we hardly ever hear any news about stuff like this. Thankfully, this publication had the balls to do this. He said he fears the children have been abducted and sold into into a global sex trafficking ring, and said he has been holding meetings with DCS critics of the agency and fellow lawmakers, including Brophy McGee. Farnsworth acknowledged his beliefs were outlandish, but he said it's not a conspiracy theory. He told Yellow Sheet that he didn't believe DCS officials were actively selling children into sexual slavery, but that they are being lax at protecting children from predators who will do so. Again, how do you lose 550 people in general, let alone children? You're just like, oh, I don't know where they went. Well, he said he hopes his meetings ultimately prove him wrong. Farnsworth said he is more convinced than ever that Arizona children removed from their parents and put into group homes or foster homes are being sex trafficked, even though he told Yellow Sheet he has turned up no evidence. When I first heard about this, I believed that children from Arizona DCS were ending up in sex trafficking. Now, after the research I've done, I'm confident of it. He told Yellow Sheet, but I can't prove it. Well, here's why he can't prove it, because these people always have plausible deniability. They've always got a cover story, and they have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that are employed to gang stalk and to be strategists for this type of organized crime. Farnsworth also alleged that two former Republican state senators from other states who were killed within days of each other earlier this year were executed because they were investigating links between their own states' child protective agencies and global sex trafficking rings. Yeah, one was here in Arizona and one was Norman, Oklahoma, where I left because there was a bunch of crazy stuff going on. And I called out a a restaurant that had a second floor that had red lights up in the top, and I said, "Hey, that place is a brothel. Could even possibly be a child brothel." And I was getting gang stalked and harassed at that place too. The day that I mentioned that that place was a brothel, that night it burnt to the ground. It was called the Joint. It was formerly Coach's. It was on Main Street, not far from my art studio, and it changed from Coach's to the Joint. And yeah, like I said, the day that I called that place out, the day that I realized what was going on in that place with the red lights upstairs and the obvious what was going on, uh, it burned to the ground. Okay, there is no evidence that either ex legislator was murdered for that reason. Linda Collins Smith, a former senator from Arkansas, was killed by a close friend and former campaign aide. And Jonathan Nichols, a former senator from Oklahoma, died by suicide. So if you look up Jonathan Nichols, this is the one right here that died in Norman, Oklahoma. It's where the University of Oklahoma is, and I lived there for 2 years. And I left because of all of the crazy nonsense that was going on in that place. I knew something was up. People were breaking into my house. Just all of the odd gang stalking events that I talk about on my YouTube channel. And in Arkansas, we know who's from Arkansas. People get Arkansided all the time. The dispute between Farnsworth and Brophy McGee stems from what she said was a conversation in which she told her colleague that both she and her husband were concerned for her safety after some of Farnsworth's allies in the child sex ring investigation began harassing her, spreading rumors that she and others are involved in illicit child kidnapping schemes. Brophy McGee told the Insider publication that Farnsworth's com- compatriots are unbalanced and have forced her to have Senate security guards escort her to and from meetings about DCS, but Farnsworth has been unconcerned. But Farnsworth told Yellow Sheet that while he initially didn't take Brophy McGee's comments seriously, he decided to file a complaint with DPS because the best deterrent to a threat is for more people to be aware of it. Absolutely, and that is why I read these articles, why I do what I do. So let's see here. Jim Small wrote this article. He's a Native American and has covered state government policies and politics since 2004. Good for you, Jim Small, for writing this article. You are a true journalist. So here's a little side note, little coincidental side note. In gang stalking, they monitor you all of the time, and you're surveilled 24/7. I talk about this all the time on my YouTube channel, and they play street theater skits on you and threaten and intimidate you. So I talked about kids being taken away from their families after being deemed mentally incapable, uh, delusional, or schizophrenic by speaking out about gang stalking and being targeted. And I decided to go to the drive-through, get my daughter and myself some value meal stuff, cheap food, and the Dodge Challenger that pulls in front of me into the drive-through just happened to have a license plate starting with CPS. Imagine that.